We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
I may not be a millionaire. I may not have a brand new Frigidaire. My clothes ain't all fancy, and my car ain't brand new. But there is joy in my house. I've got
Welcome everybody to Join My House, an inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who says it.
I'm joined here by my co-host, Olita Robinson. Welcome.
Hey, how are you, Joel? Good to see you as
New Year.
always. Happy New Year to you too.
How was your New Year?
It's going pretty good. You know, last year I didn't think we were going to get work, but with my company, some jobs have come in, so I'm happy. How about you?
Well, same here. I started off my new year taking care of some business and starting to make amends for certain things, even way in the past.
I'm looking forward to hearing it later.
And God has been very faithful. You know,
I'm glad.
You know, you surrender, like we were talking about before. You know, you don't just have to be a believer; you have to be a follower.
That's right.
You know, so sometimes you just can't say you're going to make amends and say I'm sorry, but you also have to face the consequences. And God's been really good. So I'm very happy and excited to be here today.
I'm glad to see you. I really am.
I'm very proud to be a part of a show like this that gives us a safe place where we can grow, not just in conversation, but spiritually.
Right.
Emotionally. I mean, these are some of the foundations of what joy in our house means to me. And
yes, it does.
And I'm sure to you. And, we had a great guest last week for our New Year's special with Paul Obel from Obel Ministries. If you missed our show, you can catch the recap on www.LATalkLive.com. Click on shows and click on Join My House, and you can catch the recap of all of our episodes. And we have an amazing show today.
I'm looking forward to this. I mean, this is our first real recovery. We talk about the shows, A Touch of Recovery. We've had a lot of inspirational people.
Right.
I mean, it goes hand in hand. But today, we're really going to get to what recovery is really all about. I'm excited.
So am I. We have John Brennan, which is the regional director of Celebrate Recovery. He has a great testimony, and he's going to come and tell us about Celebrate Recovery and what Celebrate Recovery is. And I know for me, it's a strong foundation of my recovery.
It has been.
Is my CR program, my Celebrate Recovery program.
And it's been awesome for me too, because mine started in secular, and I'm somewhat still serving in the secular 12-step groups. But it brought me to Christ and to bridge that Christianity is recovery.
Right.
And so Celebrate has been really a blessing to me also.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm elated today to have John Brennan, Regional Director of Celebrate Recovery, come and talk about CR and talk about his life and how it's affected him. And
something else, we were talking about Paul last week. Paul talked about, a couple of my friends were really touched about how with the new year, letting things go, looking for your purpose. I was praying about today with John being on, like yourself and myself, I needed someone to show me how to let go. And I think John coming on today will be a practical message to show people how to recover. Because some people can just let things go. We've had testimonies of people who have been delivered from alcohol and drugs.
Right.
But some people need a how-to. I'm the type of person, you can't give me a map. You got to say turn right, go left. If you give me a map, I'm lost.
Take 10 steps, make a right. Take 4 steps, make a left. I am the same way.
You know what I mean?
And especially because of my compulsiveness and my wanting to manipulate.
Right.
I want it my way and in my time.
Right.
Because I haven't seen it done by somebody else with direction, which I think CR and Celebrate Recovery really gives you.
It shows the people how to.
Practical applications.
The practical applications on how to do this.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah,
so we're very excited today. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but I want you to be able to follow us. I want to give you all the information where you guys can engage with us and follow us. You can follow us on Facebook /Join My House, where you can get up-to-date lineups of our special guests and updates. You can also stream us live if you're watching us from a mobile device, your iPad, your iPhone, your blueberry. I was gonna say
Well,
your black, your
Don't look at me.
blackberry.
I'm still.
You can follow us on newstream.tv/LATalkLive.com, or you can just find us at joinmyhouse.com. All our information is there. But I want you guys out there as an audience and viewers to engage with us. Send us a tweet. You can Twitter us at twitter.com/joinmyhouse, or you can call the studio line direct with any questions or comments.
Right.
We want to hear from you. I think part of and I say this all the time, I think God put us on this earth for us to engage and create relationships with one another.
Right.
So we want to hear your comments and questions so we can also be inspired and find hope through your life as you hear the stories of our guests and ourselves, and find hope and inspiration through our stories. We also want that from you guys out there. So please give us a call. The number is 323-247-7443. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with John Brennan, the state representative, the regional director of Celebrate Recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want you to stay tuned.
Come on back.
Jump up and shout his praises. Everybody sing hallelujah. Turn around and tell your neighbors all the great things God has done for you. The waves are crashing and are praising. The trees are swaying in the breezes. The angels guard your way. Keep your faith, it's a brand new day. Brand new day. All the praises to the Holy One. All the praises to your precious Son, who is like the Lord Almighty, powerful indeed. He points his mighty finger, commands the mountains and the sea. And I will tell of the great things he's done. I'll shout out loud, I am is the one. Jump up and shout his praises. Everybody sing hallelujah. Turn around and tell your neighbors all the great things God has done for ya. The waves are crashing and are praising. The trees are swaying in the breezes. The angels guard your way. Keep your faith, it's a brand new day. Brand new day. He walked on water and set captives free. Released the prisoner, gave his life for me. He walked amongst the people and he rested for us.
Oh, your skin looks great.
Thank you.
What's your secret?
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence.
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence?
Yes, it's a beauty secret used since the time of the Greeks and Romans. The spa in Malibu told me about frankincense and myrrh by Ancient Essence, and now my skin is lovely.
Well, your skin looks great.
Call Ancient Essence at 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Call 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret. Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Available at fine spas and beauty centers.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk. Are you ready to enjoy the Maui lifestyle? You can have it all by owning real estate on the paradise island of Maui. Dennis Rush, a 22-year Maui resident and real estate broker, brings his wealth of experience and market knowledge to add value to your Maui real estate understanding, providing a level of service as unique and exceptional as the island of Maui itself. The magical island of Maui was voted the most exclusive resort island in the world by Condé Nast Traveler, and keep in mind, Maui is only a simple, non-stop flight away. Hawaii Business Magazine Top 100 Realtors awarded Dennis Rush the 2011 fourth top realtor on the island of Maui. Go to www.dennisrush.com to view all of the amazing properties currently available in the Maui MLS system. Whatever your needs or desires, Dennis Rush will provide a private consultation for any Maui properties your heart desires. You will be in good hands. Once again, go to www.dennisrush.com. That's www.dennisrush.com. Contact Dennis today to start your Maui lifestyle now. Dennis Rush, proud sponsors of the Dawn Christie Show and LA Talk Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Join My House, an inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is absolutely insignificant who says it.
We are joined here by our in-studio guest, John Brennan, our Celebrate Recovery Regional Director. Welcome to the show.
How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Awesome.
It's a pleasure to have you here today with us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
If you don't know, Celebrate Recovery is a 12-step Christian program with the foundation of Jesus Christ in the center of it. Mm-hmm. It's a program that I'm a part of, and they have a really great system and a step study program and groups and just an amazing set of tools for people like me that need direction, especially on how to live life in God's way. So I'm very happy and excited to have John here. Again, the Celebrate Recovery Regional Director. I met you through odd circumstances for me. I was in an office with your state rep, Kathy Taylor, and I was in the office trying to sell her on Lolita. Now, Lolita's been in the secular recovery world for many, many years and had a book out called Shaped by the Master's Hand and had released her first debut album entitled Lolita. And I was telling Kathy, you need to have this young lady come and give her testimony and come to your special day of song and praise of Celebrate Recovery. And she right away was like, okay, sounds good. She sounds amazing. Booked her for the show and put that to the side and said, started giving me a little bit of her testimony. Mm-hmm. And I started relating to her. And she's like, do you do any type of recovery? And I go, I'm in the secular I'm in secular recovery. She's like, well, then you need to know about Celebrate. And she started telling me about Celebrate Recovery. Mm-hmm. And she handed me this Bible that I still have till today. And I put it in the back of my car and rode around with it for a while. And Lolita went and did her CR event. Yeah. Did an amazing job. And I went
through, Kathy was inspirational for me too, because when I want John to start, sharing here, I was really quite not happy with the church, because when I first got into recovery, 1985, there wasn't Celebrate Recovery. There was a group called Overcomers Anonymous, and the church was kind of poo-pooing recovery. Can you relate to that, John?
I sure can.
Was it similar for you too?
The first part for me was to go. I was in a DUI wreck, mm-hmm. and as a result, my attorney told me that it would be the best thing in the world to go to recovery programs, and this was before Celebrate Recovery. And so I started with AA as a traditional recovery, mm-hmm. and things progressed, mm-hmm. and it was wasn't a lot of fun along the way, but it turns out to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, through the encouragement of Kathy Taylor and Lolita, I decided, you know what, I'm going to give this a try, because Lolita said, it's great that you're doing traditional recovery, but she's like, you need Christ as your center. You need to do this. And Lolita had already gone through the program and completed the steps.
Well, you did it first, because what I started to say was I was a little put off by the church. So when Celebrate came up, I was I was kind of like, I found that there can be a real arrogance.
Mhm.
There was a division of those who came from traditional and those who came to celebrate recovery. And the Lord gave me a real healing. And he brought me home. He brought me home with Celebrate. And so I'm just blessed to be a part of it. But you were more on board than I was at first. But then through Kathy, I went through the step study. So hopefully I'll be able to lead. You've led how many? 9?
Just finished my 10th.
Oh my goodness! And
Wow.
you've done 3, right?
I've done 3 step study programs, and I was telling John earlier that the first step study was me going in there and going through the program through the steps and
Right.
and making amends to the people I've hurt. And after that, I towards the end of the first step study, it's about a year-long program. I went a little over a year. I was almost done and graduated from the program, and I dropped out. Last 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks left, I left. And I look back on it, why did I leave? Why didn't I just finish it? I think I was scared of what this meant, that I was recovered.
Yeah, he's going to share about that.
But you always say this a lot, Lolita, and I agree with it. You don't arrive in this program. It's a lifelong program. It's a lifestyle. And for me, that was just the first step. I went back to my second, and in my second, I got the opportunity to really dig deeper into my recovery. And now in my third step study, I'm working on forgiving myself.
As dynamite. Well,
So
I'd
every
like to
time-
hear how it started with John.
John, let's get a little bit of your history, a little bit of your bio and your family of origin.
Well, I was born and raised here in Southern California. And if you're familiar with the Dream Center, that used to be Queen of Angels Hospital, and that's where I was born.
Oh, wow.
And so that's a little bit of the history. My dad was a doctor. My mom was a nurse. We were raised, I have 5 brothers and sisters, pretty much raised in an alcoholic family. Dad was an alcoholic in denial, and mom was pretty much a raging alcoholic,
Wow.
and with a lot of anger and a lot of frustration. So it was tough.
But even through all that, it seemed like you had some successes.
You know, I was probably an overachiever due to the perfectionism that came through my parents, and was kind of transferred through in that whole process. And I think probably that with that perfectionism comes just a desire to do more, do better, and always be the best. And when you aren't, you fail.
Well,
And-
how confusing in a household, because most people think alcoholics are skid row bums,
Right.
derelicts, and here your father was a doctor
Mhm.
and your mother was a nurse.
Mhm.
Touch on that.
You know, it's
Yeah.
it's tough. It really is tough.
Mhm.
But there's that element of perfectionism, and like I said, when you fail, you look for a way to mask the pain.
Right.
And so I started masking pain at 11, and trying to figure out a way to get through it.
Mhm.
And for
What
me,
kind of pain were you in? You must have had money.
Well-
So people are thinking, what kind of pain could a son of a doctor and a nurse?
I'll give you the simple story. I played baseball. I was a pretty good baseball player. I was a catcher, and I had 2 of my best friends were in the car with me after a game. I'd gone 3 for 4, had 6 RBIs. I'll never forget this. Hit a home run over the center field fence. It was just an amazing game. Had 9 putouts from behind the plate,
Wow.
throwing guys out, picking guys off. Just having a great game. And so my buddies and I are talking, and just we're excited, and we're going home, and my dad's driving, and he says, I got to tell you, you could have been 4 for 4 if you were a little faster.
Oh,
Wow.
And
You had one
so
of the best games of your career,
you
and still
imagine?
wasn't good enough.
so my buddies just the talk stopped. It just got real quiet in the car, and we got home, and my dad walked inside, didn't say another word, and my buddy said, "Okay, so what's the best thing for us to do?" And I said, "We'll get in the liquor cabinet."
Oh, wow. At 11.
At 11.
11.
And so that's when it started.
Oh, that was a mouthful right there.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So it's not an easy life to go back and visit, but it's a great life to acknowledge, know where I came from, know the sources of the pain, and why I felt like I had to self-medicate.
And you probably saw your parents go to that cabinet, right? Is that why you knew where it was?
Well, Dad was in the cabinet every night.
Okay.
So that was just his deal.
Mhm.
And Black Russians, if you're familiar, a little Kahlua, a little vodka, so it's all
That's
alcohol.
the strong stuff.
And so that's what he would drink. And Mom was a closet alcoholic. She's now, by the grace of God, 40 years clean and sober.
Oh, congratulations.
So that's pretty amazing. But, Dad was drinking every night, and I saw that as being normal. So with him drinking every night, I knew where the liquor cabinet was. And so we had a screwdriver because he had it locked so Mom wouldn't get in. And so we would break into the liquor cabinet and steal his booze.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that can help a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate. A lot of people see their parents with these addictions and they just follow because they know no better. They just see that's what they do to self-medicate. So it's something that they learn to do as well. I know I read a great book, The Road Less Traveled, and it talks about by Scott Peck, and he always talks about how the children learn how to go through problems and how to suffer through the parents. And if you never show your children that you go through pains and that you suffer and that you're able to get through it, they don't know how to cope with it as well. And I think that's very important. And obviously you've learned how to do that through this program. But I did want to talk about some of your accolades. I understand that you, after high school, you started working for a Fortune 500 company and had some success.
Well, after high school, I went into the Navy.
Yeah.
And served aboard a United States nuclear submarine. The hull number on my submarine, the number on the side of the ship was 666.
What?
It was a USS Hawkbill.
I should have told you right there.
Yeah.
You're ready for a ride.
We were definitely known as a devil boat. So when we would pull
goodness.
into town, it was not a pretty sight. So it was I learned a lot. On a submarine, you learn how to get along with people. So that was a great skill that I got to learn, and how to communicate and how to read people when you're.
Why did you choose the military? Because I bet you were a good student in school, right?
I was a good student in school.
Why did you choose the military?
Well, it was interesting. One of my best friends and I decided we were going to take a semester off of school and save some money and go travel in Europe. And so we quit school, dropped out of school, and went and worked a second job. We were both working already. And within a week, we had our student deferment canceled. And we were reclassified as 1A, which meant we were draftable. And we both have the same birth date, October 8th, and our draft number was 8. And so I decided that I was going to volunteer, and he decided he was going to wait, and he got drafted.
Oh, okay. So you went. So that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a.
Okay. So you decided, well, I might as well go ahead because maybe do you have more say when you volunteer? Can you pick where you want to go to a certain degree as opposed to being drafted, or what?
Well, it was a real simple choice. The difference between clean sheets and a foxhole.
Okay. All right. Say no more.
Yeah.
Say no more.
I also got an opportunity to read your testimony, and I read in your testimony that even during the time that you were serving in the sub, alcohol was very prevalent.
Yeah, it was. I was one of those guys that everybody wanted to run with when we'd go to town.
Well, you're
and
funny.
Get into port. Well, I was the one that knew where to get the supplies in town.
Yeah, from that screwdriver, you knew how to break into those.
So I was pretty much drunk every night at sea and in port.
Are you kidding?
So you learned to be a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
Well, how did the commanders not see that? Were they drinking too? I mean.
Yeah, we don't go there.
Okay, all right, okay. Use your imagination.
Yeah, there you
Ben
go.
is going. Yep. Just use your imagination.
Yeah, so I learned there how to be a functioning alcoholic.
Okay.
From the best. I mean, we got a lot of things done and did some things well, and we had commendations and all those kinds of things, and it was great as a sub and as a submariner. When I got out of the service, went back to school and got my degree in computer science, and went to work for a Fortune 500 company. Started as a systems engineer and writing programs, and then troubleshooting and doing those kinds of things, and then eventually became a what they call an area manager for the Western U.S. And so I oversaw the Western 13 states in post-sales software support.
And you were still drinking during this time.
Every day.
You know what I was before when you were talking, I think sometimes it's harder for a family like yours. I've been in all kinds of support groups with other people, and I think the people who come from a so-called intact family where people are functioning, making good money, it's really hard to see that there's a problem.
Well, it's easier to overlook.
Yes, yeah. I think so. In cases like in some families where there's not a lot of prominence and people are doing drugs and acting out, it's easy to see you need help. But in a family such as yours and the success that you had, my goodness, Why would you think that there was a problem?
Yeah. Denial is a real easy escape.
Okay.
It really is.
For anybody.
Did you think inside that something was wrong and you just denied it, or were you really blind to the fact that?
I think it was still going back to that 11-year-old incident.
Okay.
And still trying to figure out a way to mask the pain.
Okay.
It was still frustrating. It was still, I never felt good enough.
Even though you achieved, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had lots of awards and lots of accolades and commendations and stuff, but, they didn't mean anything. They just didn't.
Because your dad.
Yeah.
He didn't give that blessing.
No.
Wow. And I think Van was going to relate here.
Yeah, Van, what were you going to say? Yeah.
No, I just wanted to piggyback on what he was talking about as far as the military. Because when I served in the military, they condone drinking, the officers. When my unit did something outstanding, the company commander would reward us with alcohol and beer. And we had contests. I mean, we would fill trash cans up in ice water with beer. The black guys, we drank Blue Bull, and the white guys passed Blue Ribbons, what we call PBRs. And we would bet dollars, and you had to stick your hand in the trash can, and if you pulled out, the beer that you said you like to drink, then you won the dollar. If you didn't, then you lost your dollar. But you couldn't leave until all the beer was gone, all the alcohol was gone, and it was like the blind leading the blind.
Wow. Yeah. So that's being a man.
Yeah, and as far as the military, I don't know how it is now when soldiers are rewarded for outstanding performances. But back when I was in, because I'm considered a Vietnam vet. So
didn't
back
know that,
then,
Van. Thank you for your service. Did not know that.
That's how they reward us, and it was cool, and it was all right. It was acceptable that we came back from back to base drunk. We didn't get in trouble that much. It had to be really something really tragic for us to get in trouble. But if we got into a fight with the civilians, it was cool. It was all right. They brushed it off. So.
It just shows a dysfunction that was the reward, was alcohol, was go out and get wasted because you did a good job. It starts teaching you that that's the way to be accepted.
Yeah.
I think that's the dysfunction. I think.
Boy, that's quite a story, Van. Thank you for sharing that. And I know John is like, okay, I'm glad he spilled the beans, but I'm not.
I was a rebel in the military. I was a soldier, but I didn't allow them to just tell me that it was okay. I'm gonna go back to you talk to John. Just like when I had kitchen duty, and it was a table full of drill sergeants, and one asked me to get him a cup of coffee. So I go get him a cup of coffee, come back, then another one. By the third drill sergeant, and there was like 6, 7 drill sergeants at this table. By the third one, I said, hold up, wait a minute. While I'm going to get this cup of coffee for this drill sergeant, do any of you else want any? Because you're not going to run me back and forth. This don't make no sense. So they stopped bothering me. So they knew that I had some type of intelligence about myself.
Well, that's why you're where you are.
Yeah, I think a lot of those things,
but thanks for sharing that. About I've heard that too. That young men go out and learn to drink when they get in the service. I mean, not just put that on I'm sure you got a lot of redeeming factors too, because you said that. Did it prepare you for the Fortune?
Yeah, it did. I mean, again, learning how to get along with people, how to work in an environment, know that when you go to work, you go to work. You don't go to mess around and waste time. You go to get things done.
Yeah, it teaches you certain skill sets, even though, it is in dysfunction, but you learn almost like survival tactics. Like you learn to read people, and especially when they're intoxicated, you start saying, well, they can be dangerous. Who knows what sets off their triggers? So it does teaches you some type of skill set.
Yeah.
But through all that, you still went and you got to the Fortune 500
How long were
company.
you in corporate America?
11 and a half years with that company.
Wow.
And so spending, quite a bit of time and traveling and doing that kind of stuff. My job was about 80% travel, which kind of put a toll on my second marriage.
Oh, well, you didn't tell us about the first one. You're not going to get away. Okay, yeah. What about the ladies? I remember, your motto. I don't want to say what your motto was, but you.
Well,
yeah. What happened?
I got married right out of the service, and we were doing great, and
you met her.
I met her through a friend, and then we actually went on a couple of them. Our first date was in Hawaii.
Oh.
I was over there in school, and she came over on a vacation with her friend. And so I met her there. We connected, did well, and got out of the Navy, and we decided to get married. Had a daughter, and through the process, I was still out of control. I mean, I was still in denial that there was a problem. I was still working and going to school. And as my daughter got to about 3 or 4 years old, my wife decided that it was time for me to change. And so she asked me to make a choice. Mm-hmm. We could live in Oklahoma, we could live in Colorado, or we could live in Seattle. Well, I'd lived in Seattle, and that was not my place. Oklahoma didn't really appeal to me. And so we settled in Denver. And there was about a 3-month period between the time we sold our home here and we got settled there. And in that 3 months, I was able to reestablish my network of drugs and alcohol and women.
Oh, boy.
And
so by the time by moving, it was going to change it.
Yeah. And so by the time changing the location didn't make any difference because I still had it in me that I was going to do what I was going to do.
Right. You can't run away from yourself.
Yeah. It's called geographical fixes. That doesn't work, right?
No, not a bit.
So you found new people, or did you know these guys?
Nope, just new people.
Okay.
Wow.
And just, you hang around the bars enough and go to the right places, which are the wrong places. But
and we talk about how, through these dysfunctional families and this dysfunctional environment that you're in, you learn to do that. You learn to be charismatic and to meet people and, to know who to talk to get certain things, to get some of your fixes.
Yep.
And through this, now you created a whole new network.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you feel that you got your first bottom?
I know when my first bottom was, but I never acknowledged my first bottom.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was when my wife in Denver left and went down to Oklahoma, and her father actually called me up one day and said, "So what's your plan?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting transferred out to California, and if she wants to come, great. If she doesn't, she can stay here. We'll just get divorced."
Wow. Oh, wow.
And so it was an easy way for me to say, "Hey, let's get divorced."
And you felt really cut off from it?
Yeah, I mean, it just it was easy to separate.
Mm-hmm.
Then my then wife set me up with a date as we were going through the divorce process, so a little bit more dysfunction.
Your wife said, "Look, give somebody else misery here, my friend."
And it turned out she was
one of way to do it.
One of her friends, as a matter of fact. But we connected in Denver, and she lived there. And so when I moved to California, then she followed.
Wow.
And so then started my second marriage.
But you were having extramarital affairs outside of the marriage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you say that goes hand in hand with alcohol?
No, I just think it's again it's a way to mask pain.
Okay.
It's a way to look for love. It's a way to kind of make everybody else think that you're okay.
Okay.
And that was one of those things of just proving yourself along the way. So yeah, it wasn't pretty, but it was what it was.
Would you say that you were in sexual addiction?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Pornography was part of the process. The internet wasn't a big deal at that time, but books, magazines, strip joints, bars. I mean.
So again, you're saying, because we had another gentleman on, was a young man who was on our show that was from CR also, I think, talked about.
Oh yes.
Anyway, we had another gentleman on who talked about sexual addiction. So it is also a way of masking pain.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Goodness.
It's
you would think it's fun, or just hanging out. I guess it starts out that way, but that's not the underlying issue.
No.
Right.
And it's just it's again looking for ways to prove yourself, looking for a way to cover up and make yourself feel better. And it's like a hit or a shot or whatever. It's just one of those fixes that don't last long.
All right, I can imagine. So now you have your second wife.
Mm-hmm. And had a son in that marriage. And so he's out there living my video.
I love that. What do you mean by that? Yeah, you said that earlier, and I didn't want to ask because I want you to say that here.
It's like if I that day I stand in front of God and He says, "Okay, John, let's review your life." I figured that there's a video camera that's always on. Mm-hmm. The batteries never run out because it runs on solar. It's God's video camera. It's the red light's always on record, and every moment of every thought or feeling or action that I've done in my life is going to be something I have to see. And so He's playing my videos.
Wow.
And living those out. And that's, it's hard for me to know, but it's
was it like a third generation? Was your father was your father, did he run with ladies too?
If I said yes, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
But the drinking, so your son is drinking and okay, so
my
dad's son, video, your video, now your son's video.
Yeah. So it's generational, and it goes back one generation before that, my grandfather.
Wow. People don't realize that it's true.
So when I talk about generational pain, it's something that's very, very easy to put my finger on. Mm-hmm. But I can also talk now about generational healing.
Yeah.
And
well, let's get into that. When did you come to a traditional recovery program?
In 1989, in August, I was told by my doctor I'd be dead in 6 months if I didn't stop drinking.
Wow.
And so I left his office that day, drove across a parking lot, went to a grocery store, picked up a six-pack, and went home.
That still wasn't enough. You still drank.
No, I figured at that time I was thinking that I'd be better off dead, and my family would be if I was not around. And so it was my own way of killing myself without calling it suicide.
So by then you were starting to really feel the pain and see something's wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I knew that there was something wrong. I didn't know how to stop. I just didn't know how. My daily routine was just it was a joke. It was, I'd get up in the morning, have a couple of shots and a beer and get in the shower. I'd go downstairs, make a Kahlua and coffee and drive to work.
And you said that you were never too far from arm's length. You mean so right by the bed you have something?
I had a bottle of booze on my headboard. And when I'd wake up in the middle of the night from, being passed out, because I never went to sleep, I just passed out. Mm-hmm. And so when I'd wake up in the middle of the night, I'd grab a shot off that and then go back to sleep, pass back out.
That's bondage.
Yeah.
It's really bondage. And I think I wonder where the line crosses when it crosses from social into alcoholism. Do you know when it kind of...
For every person it's different. Mm-hmm. The reason people drink is the real issue. Mm-hmm. I drank to get drunk. I didn't drink to be social, and I never did. I just knew how to get drunk, and learned how to master that. And so that if there was a skill set that I was willing to master, that was going to be the one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to
you were asking
celebrate
him about
recovery.
You were asking about how he hit his bottom, his last one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I had my doctor's report. That was in August. On October 8th of that same year, just a couple of months later, I was in a DUI wreck, and I put an off-duty cop and his girlfriend in the hospital all busted up. Oh, wow. I was physically abusive toward my wife driving down the freeway, and he was going to pull us over and get us to stop. And I swerved to miss a car in front of me because I wasn't paying too much attention, and took us into a ditch. Wow. So that was October 8th of 1989, and the next day I had to figure out something, and for me, God was not the option.
Wow.
So I just figured, okay, well, I got out of jail that night, and so they took me back to the holding cell, and got through that process, and that evening, or then the next morning, I got released. And walked from the Santa Ana jail to my home in Mission Viejo. Wow! Because I couldn't find anybody to pick me up, and I was too embarrassed to call people and say I'd gotten busted. And so I walked home and had plenty of time to think about it. I knew I needed to drink, and the doctor told me I'd be dead. So, what was I going to do? And so I talked to the attorney, and he told me that I need to go to these AA meetings. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll do that. And he said it would look good when we went to court. And so I figured, okay, well, I'm into looking good, so we'll just make that happen.
I love it. Another thing that you can accomplish and get an award in.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So started going to AA meetings, and hooked up with a sponsor right away. And he told me in order for me to work with him, I had to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And so I did that, got close to the 90 days, and I let him know, hey, by the way, I'm getting close to 90 days. And he said, yeah, you are. And he says, and I'm going to give you your chip. Cool. So I go up to get my chip, and he gives me a hug, and he says, 90 more meetings in 90 more days.
Oh, wow.
So what did that do? That must have...
You know, it's a little devastating, you know, to a guy who's
I've
a perfectionist.
I've done all this. Yeah, you know,
I've earned
where's
this.
my reward?
Yeah, I've earned this.
It.
And so anyhow, after 540 meetings in 540 days, he finally decided it was time for me to start working the steps.
Oh, I love it.
I was a little bit hard-headed.
I guess he knows the con game.
Well, he was 38 years clean and sober.
Oh, so he knew.
And so he was able to see right through me.
Mm-hmm.
He's also the guy who took me to church the first time. I was about 4 months into my recovery. He said, you know, there's a lot more to this program than what you're doing. And I said, okay, so what's that all about? And he says, well, just meet me on Sunday and we'll go to a meeting. Okay. So I thought we were going to another meeting somewhere else, and he drives me to a church. I was not real happy.
Were you raised in any kind of traditional religion? We didn't ask you that at the beginning.
I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
And pretty much walked away from that.
I understand.
You know, as soon as I could.
Right.
And so it was, you know, it was pretty much ritual. But the deal was, I walked into this church thing, and I told him I was not real happy to be there. And realistically, the only reason I stayed was because it was better than walking 5 miles back to my car. So, you know, I opted for the sit and relax and the drive back. But I let him have it on the way home. You know, hey, you know, there's no need for you to do this to me. You know, that kind of stuff. I was not real happy. So we went back down to my car, and he dropped me off. And it was kind of interesting that day. I listened, but you know, God still was not the option for me.
You said that earlier. I like that. You said that. How did you put that? God was always watching over you, but he wasn't in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. He just wasn't part of it. I mean, I knew God, I knew of God, but I didn't have any relationship with God. And so I knew where, you know, I knew where to find him when I wanted him. And he was usually on a shelf somewhere, because I would just take God and put him where I needed him. I could deal with my own stuff. And when I needed God, it's when I was in trouble.
But he had another plan, obviously. He was setting these people in place.
Yeah. Bigger problem than I ever, or bigger solution than I ever thought was. So.
Well, let's get to that. So you're in this 12-step program. You did 90-90.
No, it wasn't a 12-step. Oh, yeah, 12-step. Yeah, I thought you were talking about CR. You're right.
And when did you get to CR?
You know, I was in 95. I was at Saddleback Church, and it was a lady that I had an interest in, and
okay, so the second marriage obviously didn't work.
Yeah, that one, yeah, smoke and flames. Mm-hmm. But I was talking to her one day, and she said, "Hey, you know, they have this thing called Celebrate Recovery here at the church," and I said, "Well, that's great," and you know, I just let it go. I said, "I'm in AA. I don't need that."
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was my. Why do I need that? I mean, they're 20 years behind or 50 years too late.
I'm doing good. I like to say, well, you know, I used to say I was doing fine, but fine for me now is freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotionally unstable. So
wow, I love it. You need to put that on a bumper sticker.
Yeah, exactly. But so I went to a couple of meetings there, and then I started finding other meetings in local areas where I was, and finally got to a point of realizing that I needed to do something really different in my life. I really needed to let God in, and you know, let John be put to the side and put God in the middle. And I went to a Promise Keepers convention down at the Coliseum, and committed my life to Christ in front of about 70,000 men.
Oh, that's exciting. That's wonderful.
So it was pretty powerful for me. I walked from the Coliseum to my hotel, and just was, I don't know, my whole life just changed. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize what I had been missing all along. And
well, are you gonna take a break?
We're not actually gonna not take a break. We're gonna go right through this.
That's great.
You know, I think this is great. I think people need to hear. If you're just joining us, we're joined here by John Brennan, the regional director of Celebrate Recovery, and he's gonna tell us what CR is, what Celebrate Recovery is. Celebrate Recovery, John, if you can explain.
Yeah, and if
what kind of program is CR that you came to?
And how did it get started? Because you're from Saddleback, and that would be a good history.
Yeah, Saddleback Church started Celebrate Recovery in 1991. Pastor John Baker was the originator of it. And one of the co-founders, and basically what he did was he was going to secular meetings and wasn't able to talk to his friends at church about the issues he was going through, and wasn't able to open up to the guys at AA about it. So he went to Pastor Rick with a 13-page single-spaced letter and said, this is what I'd like to do. And Rick read through it, and he says, "Great, John, go do it." And so that's how it got birthed. There were 46 people that came the first meeting. Mm-hmm. They met in a mental institution.
Oh, really?
So that was the original, where the original meeting was. And now they're in 19,000 churches. We're worldwide. Spent I think there's 23 different languages that the material is translated into.
Oh, Lord, that's exciting.
I mean, it's incredible.
It has built a bridge, because for so long, when I came in, I was told that 12-step work was the occult, mm-hmm. and that there's no reason, if you're standing on the word, there's no reason that you have to have 12 steps. But it's a beautiful minute, because it's built a bridge so that practicality and spirituality came together, and God just really has birthed this ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. He's blessed it. I mean, it's amazing.
Not only has it grown, but I understand that there's a movie that was made with Celebrate Recovery as one of the attributing factors to the film.
There's a movie coming out in April 19th. It's called Home Run.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Home Run is it's a movie about a baseball player. Imagine that. Who has a major alcohol problem and has a lot of family dysfunction. And the movie really is not just about alcohol. Mm-hmm. It's about generational issues.
Like what you were talking about, the dynamics of the family.
Mm-hmm. And so many other issues that are brought up in the middle of it. But it's an incredible movie. And I've been able to see it and seen it pre-screened. And
is Celebrate Recovery behind it?
Absolutely. Now, not from a financial standpoint or anything like that, but Celebrate Recovery. When the Vivica Fox is one of the characters in there, and she is the agent for the ball player, and she walks into a room where he's just been suspended for 60 days from his team, mm-hmm. and she walks in and hands him a brochure, and she says, "I found you a 12-step program." And he says, 12 steps. And he takes this brochure and he starts looking through it. And then they flash to it and it says Celebrate Recovery.
Celebrate Recovery.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So the ministry has grown even into mainstream now, which I think is very important for you out there. If you're interested in what this 12-step program is, this Christ-centered 12-step program, where would they go? What's the website?
Website is www.celebraterecovery.com. And you can go straight there. There's a lot of events and a lot of things to tie into there. We do one-day events, about 20 of them a year in different cities around the country, and we train on a regular basis. There's
people to be leaders.
Train to be leaders.
Yes.
But we have there's a saying that we've learned. I think picked it up from probably Pastor Rick Warren, and that is that when you stop learning, you stop leading.
Oh, I love it.
And as we continue to learn in recovery, the different ways that we can use the tools that we're given. Number one tool being the Bible, mm-hmm. but then all the other tools that we learn going through the step studies and the small groups.
And I'm a firm believer that I teach martial arts, and I always say to my students and to people, especially mentors and, these grandmasters that have been doing martial arts their whole lives and 10th degree black belts, I always tell them I'm a student first. No matter what, I'm learning even from my own students who are beginners all the way through mm-hmm. advanced. I'm a student first, and I need to always continue learning and evolving and changing. And through Celebrate Recovery, for me, it's allowed me to have practical applications of boundaries and really getting to know some of my issues of why I drank or why I acted out. Mm-hmm. And it's allowed me also, I'm privileged to have you here and to have John. Celebrate Recovery be a foundation, because it's allowed me, most importantly for me, is how to love. Mm-hmm. How to love my children, how to love my parents, my family, how to love my girlfriend, and have boundaries, and to be able to know when to step back and when to also be free and forgive, because mm-hmm. it's part of, I think, evolving and maturing as an adult, let alone spiritual growth.
Absolutely.
And I think you were going to start talking about, you got to Celebrate Recovery, you found this program, and you grabbed a hold of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I finally realized what I was missing.
Mm-hmm.
I used to call my higher power the ocean. So when I had a problem or I didn't know how to resolve something, I would go down to Huntington Beach, stand on the pier, and listen to the waves. And that's where I found my
peace. That's where some people had to start.
And so, it got to a point where, that wasn't accessible to me anymore. And I walked up to Saddleback one night and as I was walking up, I was watching these people carrying these books, and I thought, what are they carrying? And they were all walking in with Bibles. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what are they carrying a Bible for?
Mm-hmm.
See, when I was brought up, the Bible was something that we kept on our table. It was dusted once a week.
Right.
And it kept family records. Mm. And there was nothing else that we used it for.
Well, John, not that you're saying that, can you speak to those out there that are Christians that are saying, why do we need a 12-step program when we have the Bible to show us how to live? How can you bridge that for people?
The interesting statement, there's a great scripture, it's James 5:16. And it says, therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. Mm-hmm. We understand forgiveness. Forgiveness is what comes from God. So we confess our sins and we're forgiven, but we're not healed. And healing only comes in community.
Right.
And you can't do it by yourself. You can't just grab the Bible and go read it and understand it, read every minute of it, and know that every piece of it is going to be resident in your heart. You know that someone else has to give you some input on how to read it, on how to relate that to what you're going through. As I look through the different scriptures and things that we use, one of the others that always comes to mind is that if I try and do it on my own, I'm just looking for a place to fail.
Oh, I love it.
And so that's where I have to be. The Bible as part of it, and I've been involved with what we refer to as one-step programs, where if you don't get it or you're still struggling, read the Bible, and you come back and you say, hey, I'm still having a tough time. We'll read the Bible again, and that just doesn't work because we don't listen to God well.
And if our filter is, if our mind and our homes are skewed, we can read the Bible that way. So you didn't get injured by yourself, like they say. You have to get healed in relationships too. Mm-hmm. So you do need a community of people to even help you to understand even the Bible.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Absolutely. Yeah. If I read something and then you share something of the same scripture, I'm going to get something more from what you read or what your interpretation was.
But like you said, also with your father, you viewed God the way you viewed your father. Mm-hmm. So if you come from that mentality and you're reading the Bible, you're not going to see God as a loving, forgiving God. You're going to see him as what you said.
Punishing, unforgiving, critical.
Right. So the community comes around and helps you to be loved. So did you feel like you got a lot of affirmation and validation from your brothers in Christ and your accountability partners that your father wasn't able to give?
I had to learn how to accept that.
Oh, okay.
It was easy to see, but it was hard to accept because I never felt worthy of that. And so when that emotion would come out, I had to think about, okay, how do I mask this? How do I stay away from that? I don't want to show that emotion. And so I would put it off. So it was hard to learn, but and the learning continues.
Right. You said the learning continues. You're on the 10th step study at Celebrate Recovery that you've taught. Mm-hmm. And you're still continuing. You're also a big part of Celebrate Recovery. You're the regional director.
Right.
What made you want to give back in not only for your recovery, but now as a part of your life, be a part of this organization?
I had again, when I first got out of the service, I had a coach that came to me and said, John, you took so much and, it's time for you to give back. And, so I thought, okay, what's he talking about? What did I steal from this guy? Back into my old thinking. But he sat down with me and he said, you've been coached by a lot of coaches. You caught for 12 years. You did a great job. You learned a lot. You were a great ball player. But it's time for you to give back to those that need to learn what you've learned. And so that carried over. So I thought, well, okay, I'll give it to him for one season. I'll coach with him. And then I'll satisfy that and move on. So 16 years later, I quit coaching kids.
Wow.
But it was just an amazing opportunity for me to understand the lesson. Mm-hmm. And so looking back at it, I realized, okay, well, so many people have poured into me. God pours into me every day. And so many people have demonstrated grace and mercy towards me and forgiveness. And, so it's time that I continue to give back. A few years ago, I had some heart attacks. And so as I wake up every day, I used to think, well, I have to get up and go to work and I have to set my alarm and do that kind of thing. Today, it's what I call I get to. Mm-hmm. I get to get up today. God's given me one more opportunity. And it's not an opportunity to mess it up. It's an opportunity to serve someone else. Wow. And so that's where it's coming from now.
Well, congratulations. So just your way of, I know time is running down, but you also go to Africa and you take Celebrate Recovery to the African people. Well, I know I one time on TBN, I heard that in Mongolia, as 90% of the people are alcoholics. Mm-hmm. So can you touch on how you take
We do the same thing there. We take it into prisons and churches. One of the biggest things there is that the churches don't want people coming out of prison to go into their church because they're afraid they might steal from them or they might do something wrong there. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of ban them. Wow. So what we try and do is bridge that so that we instruct the churches, but we also instruct prison officials and chaplains on how to basically love each other in a different way.
Are you taking the 12 steps to them?
Take the Celebrate Recovery
Recovery
program.
So most of the people in prison are from the alcohol even there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, alcohol is just as rampant there. And in the youth, on the youth side, it's glue, sniffing glue, inhaling glue. So inhalants like we would see here are the same thing that they have there. The problems there are the same problems we have here. Mm-hmm. It's unforgiveness. It's shame. It's guilt. It's pain. And so they mask the best way they can.
So it's universal.
Yeah.
So this is a big thing that God is really calling to people's attention. This is universal.
Yeah. It's worldwide. Wow. And there's no limit to the possibilities that we have other than what our imaginations will allow us to expand to. Mm-hmm. And if we look at it from a standpoint and say, okay, there's no way that I can go here and do this. And the bottom line is there is. And you just have to make up your mind, am I going to serve God or am I going to serve man and my limitations? Or am I going to serve God in his unlimited opportunities?
Well, John, I quickly talk about his wife, though. The new wife. I know we got so much time. He's got to come back.
We're gonna have to have you back, but let's touch on how, because I know in my Celebrate and because of my foundation, my relationships are so different. Mm-hmm. They're built on sincerity and trust and love. Now you're married now. Mm-hmm. And your relationship is built on something completely different.
Yeah. I married a lady who is a Christian, and I'm going to try not to cry through this. But God has blessed me. I mean, beyond what I deserve. And she is just, she's an incredible lady, and she's put up with a lot of stuff from me.
Linda.
Yeah. Go Linda. Mm-hmm. But she serves with me side by side in the ministry. She started going to the ministry to basically learn how to deal with John the alcoholic. Wow. And found out that about her third step study group, she came back and she was kind of teary. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, I just realized that I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me.
Wow.
And, that was a full transformation. Never drank, never did drugs, none of that stuff.
Wow.
Just...
hurts and hang-ups, as they say.
Yep.
Well, John, I want to thank you for your commitment.
Because we didn't finish.
Yeah. I want to thank you for your faithfulness, your commitment to your recovery program, and now your commitment to giving back to CR.
And to see that God can take a life. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. And like in your life, in my life, to turn it around for His blessing and use it.
It's amazing what God can do when you really surrender to Him. Mm-hmm. It really is. Yep. And once again, thank you, John. We expect you to come back, John. John Brennan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan, what you shared.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in my house. I want to thank you out there for listening and viewing. Please send us your tweet. Engage with us. We just had John Brennan, a regional director of Celebrate Recovery. We want you to join us next week. Next week, we're going to have a great person come on board, and that is Sean from Giving the Children Hope. I'm still caught up in your story from CR.
Too,
but we have Sean coming in, the marketing director for Giving Children Hope out of Buena Park. He's going to be sharing about his organization. So please tune in. next week, Sunday at noon. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. God bless and
Love
have a
you.
great day.
See ya.